making a business more complicated is a trend that we see. Like, what are the great things about hosting businesses? They're scalable, there's recurring revenue, very low customer concentration. You don't have one particular customer usually who's accounted for most of your revenue. You don't have what we call special snowflakes. You're not doing anything really for one customer. You don't usually have custom contracts. Customers usually pay you in advance, sometimes years in advance. People who run these businesses think that the way that they want to develop that business further is by taking the business away from key features. I mean, we saw someone who started an OnlyFans clone as part of his hosting.
That's a unique approach.
The trend that we certainly as acquirers is challenging for us because your business is perfect, but apart from this 10%, which is just so different that it doesn't fit.
This is the second part of the episode with Lemos, CEO and founder of WorkHost Group. If you haven't heard the first part yet, I recommend starting there. Before we start the episode, a big thank you to our diamond sponsor Blackwall, infrastructure security designed for web hosters, engineered for engineers. Want to support web hosting today and get your brand noticed on the #1 media outlet for professionals in the industry? Feel free to contact us. One thing that I wanted to ask about this, because you are building the global brand, do you think that local web hosting make any sense nowadays?
As in local brands or
Local brands, yeah, like let's say guys from WebHost Canada, for example. And how can you still make a business like that when those big brands are taking over?
Right?
Right?
WebHost Canada is a brilliant brand. There's obvious stuff going on in Canada now where if I was a Canadian, I wouldn't want to be with a US hosting.
Oh yeah. They were talking about it on CloudFest recently, that they are very happy about the presence of the United States.
Yeah. But you know, the market is huge, right? Every business really needs a website, or almost all businesses should have a website. So there's space for everybody, and there's niches, and some people want to buy from a local business. Some people, you know, we have amazing local brands supported by local teams. In Colombia, we have a brilliant company called Colombia Hosting. In India, we have Hosting Raja. We have Suimpreza in Mexico. We have a hosting company in Luxembourg, Lux Hosting. But these brands resonate with local people, particularly when they're supported by local teams and they're run by local teams. There's a second part to that, which is probably slightly more technical, in that in some of these countries, there are local requirements. And if you were a business for example, if you're a business in Mexico, you need to e-invoice. So you have e-invoice stamping.
Right.
You also have to pay using local Mexican store payment methods. If you're a business in India, there's withholding tax rules. You need to file your GST return. You might want to pay with UPI. So there are so many requirements in those places that a local hosting brand just satisfies a lot better than a global hosting brand, just because they've got the local expertise. Like if in some of these countries, you need like a physical stamp on an invoice.
Right.
If you're a customer in those countries and you needed that, well, you're not going to be able to go to GoDaddy and get that, I don't think.
Okay, so but just that I understand. So all these local brands that you have will remain as local brands, and on top of that, you have hosting.com that goes globally. So those local brands will remain, right?
We don't exactly know the long-term strategy for our brand strategy. Ultimately, it comes down to like data. But this comes back to what I said at the start about narrative. Brand has to have a reason to exist within our group. So hosting.com obviously has a reason to exist. Columbia Hosting obviously has a reason to exist. Like it tells a story. It's a local hero. If we had, I don't know, hosting2.com, what would be the point of having hosting2.com? Like when we have hosting.com, like I have to be able to explain to you why we have a brand that's standalone, because there's time and effort, even if we even if things are running on the same servers and the same domain providers and all of that, there's still effort in the marketing and the brand, and there's still things that we can offer a customer of a brand that's bigger that we can't offer to other customers.
Are there any other trends other than AI that you think are on the rise in the web hosting, or is this just AI everywhere?
What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, one of the trends is something that you also said is talking about products and approaching customer on a more complex level, so they have everything they need at one place. I think that's one of the trends that not many providers realize, or they are thinking that it's just too much effort to transition to the product brand, and they stick with the web hosting. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we widen that and call it like maturity, I think there is this trend. Like, it's not just us. There are lots of hosting businesses are maturing in how they look at themselves as a business, and how they understand themselves and their customers. For sure, there's that. You know, the trends that I see that I don't think are good, and this has been happening for a while, is when hosting businesses see that they. In fact, let me take a step back. What are the things that make a hosting business really, like? What are the great things about hosting businesses? They're
Scale.
scalable. There's recurring revenue. There's your customers are you've got very low customer concentration. You don't have one particular customer usually who's
Yeah.
accountable for most of your revenue. You don't have what we call special snowflakes. Like, you're not doing anything custom really for one customer. You don't usually have custom contracts. Customers usually pay you in advance for services, sometimes years in advance. So you can predict. It's very predictable. It's very scalable. What we see a lot, so we're in M&A, and we look at a lot of businesses. What we see a lot is people who run these businesses think that the way that they want to develop that business further is by taking the business away from those key features. So, and the classic would be to take a mass hosting business and say, you know what we're going to do is we're going to sell AWS consulting services and manage
Okay.
whatever on top of AWS, or we're going to build software, or I mean, we saw someone who started an OnlyFans clone as part of his hosting. You know, which,
That's a unique approach.
yeah, which like, if you were with the hat of like a small cash run business, might make sense, because, like, particularly with the AWS size, you get one customer, you might be charging them thousands a month rather than a few dollars a month. Actually, if you understand what's great about hosting,
The
yeah,
essence.
the essence of hosting is this like scalability and like no reliance on individual customers. The trend that I find, like, I understand that it's super tempting, but the trend that we certainly as acquirers, we're like, that's challenging for us, because your business is perfect and we'd be an amazing business for us to make an offer or to do a deal with you on. But apart from this, like 10%, which is just so different, that it doesn't fit. So yeah, that, like, making a business more complicated is a trend that we see, but also understandable, because we know how hard it is to get growth
Yeah.
in hosting these days.
All right, so let's talk about this AI. Obviously, it's everywhere. You need to have AI on your main page now if you want to get some attention. But in practice, like maybe you even have some numbers. Do you think that it works? Do you think it makes business now to incorporate all these AI tools? I'm not talking about your own tools, but
Yeah.
for the customers. Let's say AI builder. Does it really work for your customers? Does it convert?
Yeah, well, let's start. So as a business, we don't do much AI in terms of website building. So we are not. And we have some website builders that have some AI functionality, but nothing yet. And I am a slight skeptic about
So am I.
the things people are building at present. I get told multiple times a week by people that something along the lines of, "Look, Seb, what I built. I'm a brilliant developer. I built this with Claude in a
Yeah.
couple of days." And then you ask, "Okay, so what does this function do? Or can you explain how this works? Or, like, tell me about the security implications of this." And there's no, like, there's that whole part of it's kind of skipped. And so I know we're digressing here a bit, but I think that people who at the moment shout about AI as a development tool rather than the website building tool I get, but as a development building tool, don't understand development, and don't understand that development
Yeah.
is as much about philosophy and security and abstraction as it is about coding. That said, obviously AI for website building is obvious that this stuff will happen. Like ultimately customers just want a website quickly in lots of cases, and there's no reason an AI builder wouldn't do that. I've yet to see that many good sites built in AI. I tried to build one myself. I mean, it's 2 months ago, which is ancient history in the AI world. But I tried to build one myself and got super frustrated. I think I tried to make an invitation in AI, and after like 10, 20 minutes, I was like, this is ridiculous. What are your thoughts on it as a tool for customers to make websites and build things?
Well, obviously, for text generation, it works perfectly. Like for me personally, I was never a good guy to make a text for something. Content creation was out of my, I don't know, my brain is too technical, I guess. You know, you need to know how to write beautiful text to attract people, customers. That's a good part. But I think I've been also trying a lot of tools, and I think it's a good starting point. Many AI projects, it's promising, but I don't think it's quite there to be so effective that people will just use it and that's it. So they still need to know what they are doing. And it's the same for programmers, like you said. It can speed things up, it can help you, but if you don't know what you're doing, it's not going to provide you an actual solution, an actual end product. It's just speeding things up for the guys who are already know the basics.
Yeah, correct. Like a co-pilot makes a lot of sense. So someone who's they understand everything they're building, but they're just using AI to quickly build out a function or autocomplete.
Yeah.
Maybe it changes these. Apparently the speed of development here is like 30% a week. The AI gets better, but I've had a Tesla for a long time, and I would never let that thing actually drive me.
Yeah.
And that's been around for 10 years. With you, obviously have one of your many businesses is a software company, and that's one of the things that does is it builds plugins and modules and payment gateways for like things like WHMCS, right?
That's right.
Does it worry you? I mean, not from a business risk point of view, but like when I look at it, I think someone interfacing with their payment systems and building a script that they might build with AI that does those such critical things without them really understanding what data is being sent where, or like it really terrifies me that people are they're going to be building plugins like that themselves using AI and saying, look, I want you to interface with this API and connect here and output me some code that I can drop into my website, and I expect it done in a couple of hours of AI code.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a threat to some extent. I think there are already AI tools that are looking into the code and finding security issues, and their goal is to connect them with the Copilot, for example, so it automatically already detects the problem. But still, if someone doesn't know what they are doing, let's say that there's one issue that this AI tool didn't notice or was written wrong. You know, you can never be sure. Like with Tesla, I would be afraid to just leave it and look elsewhere or to phone and make sure that I wouldn't be certain that it would get me to the point safe. You can never be 100% sure. So I think it's concerning, and also that's the so I would rather consider AI as a tool and something that speed things up, and also that's something that we can also talk about the support and AI with support that you are implementing. And what I am doing with Conrado AI is the goal is to make it better, faster, but not to completely replace people.
Absolutely.
It's not going to happen, I think.
You're basically putting, and this is much more established ground, the text generation of care, and I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing there. Can you just explain to me Conrad AI and how, which is I'm very I like the name. Is that going to be the live are you going to?
Yeah. So look, I was never a marketing guy, but when I came to with this idea, everyone loves it. So that's gonna stay for sure. Everyone remembers it, so that's gonna be staying. Yeah. So we're still in the brainstorming and testing phase where we talk with hosters and how, because a lot of hosters have already approached this, and as we talked before the recording, most of the guys just made some sort of OpenAI overlay that just reads through the knowledge base, and it's basically a quick search for the knowledge in a more convenient way. But it's not actually solving any issues. It's not analyzing data. So, again, our principle is that we need to do something to make support faster, and we need to make this tool to be able to access data of customer on the server, but not directly interact with it and be secure at the same time. So you cannot come and say, hey, I'm this and this customer, give me the password to my FTP account, for example.
Yeah.
So the principle is to make it fast, the support fast, because support is essential for hosting.
I agree, and that's, I mean, just from a personal, I said from a personnel point of view and from care staff, it's great because what you're doing is you're basically, everyone wants to progress and do more advanced things, and so you're taking away that like most basic 20-30% of requests of like, I forgot my password, which no one really wants. No one wants people who, everyone wants to do more advanced things than that, and you're saying, well, actually you'll do more advanced technical support or you'll do more advanced care. So just from a like, it's obvious that this stuff should happen if you can do it in a good way. But what you've talked about in terms of the security and architecture is key, and so we've been brainstorming, I guess, quite a while, and we're building a couple of systems here to do this. So when you on Conrad AI, what credentials will people give Conrad AI? They'll give server access, or how will the AI bot authenticate against the servers or the client's account?
We treat it like a human, like a person would do. So how does it work in the hosting company when someone asks you to change their password? You authenticate it. You see if they are actually authenticated and authorized to open a ticket. You make sure that this is the client, and only then you can go and do it for them. So that's also the approach that we are taking. But I don't think we will be making it fully automatic. I think in the beginning we are rather going after, if anything touches server, it is when operator gets there, but our system will give them the information much faster. They don't need to log into the server to get all the data. It will do it for them and automatically prepare
the
the
operator will get the thing saying this customer wants to do this. Do you want A, B, C? And the operator then says, do this. And then it goes.
Exactly. That's the point.
Yeah. So our architecture is going to look like this, right? So we'll have there's a few fundamental principles. So the first is that one LLM there's not a one size fits all. There's going to be different things that happen within the business that are best suited to different LLMs. Like someone who's forgotten a password or someone who has basic sales questions does not need to go to the same LLM that tells you what's wrong with your PHP script. Like one can be like Gemini, whereas one might need to be Claude or whatever. So you have to like isolate these bots to work on specific things. And then you also want to like guardrail each bot, because you don't want a bot that, for example, is answering sales questions to also tell you what your PHP error is.
Yeah.
So you have to like limit the knowledge ability that bot has. But if you're giving that bot access to functions, you also don't want to give it access to a complex endpoint that has 20 different filters. You want to basically say, what would be an example? Let's say you wanted a bot to be able, you wanted someone via an AI interface to pay an invoice. The function you would expose would be something like pay invoice X by this payment method, rather than like a general pay function where you can pass an array of invoices and payment methods. Like you want to really super tightly scope the amount of things that the bot can both answer and do. So our approach is to break things down into these little bots, and then you basically have a supervisor class or supervisor system that basically directs the chat to the most relevant bot, and then handoffs between the different bots. And then our approach will be that so the authentication happens always as the client. So the bot or system itself has no access to anything. Basically, the client authenticates themselves, and then the things the bot does are basically as the client on the system, and the client would be able to do it themselves with the same bearer token, probably, if they want.
Yeah, so also treating it like a human, right? It's like a little human element, treating it like it's a person.
But the ultimate, so there's two important things there. The first is that we see it as like basically our level 0 that empowers our care staff to kind of push up to level 1.5, level 2, level 3. And we see that this develops into something that is not just reactively care, but then is much more about like, this is the entry point to your interactions with us as a brand. Why do you need to do why do we need a DAC widget for searching for a domain? That should just go straight to the AI chat prompt, which is, what do you want to do? I want to register a domain name. What's domain? Enter the domain. Here are the domains that are available. And all it's doing is feeding back to the same systems as everything else, but it's doing it through that flow of AI interactions. It's super exciting times what this allows us and enables us to do. And we think the result of it is that our interactions with our customers will vastly increase. Like, some of those will be AI driven, but the touch points that our customers have with us will go. So we're 200,000 a month interactions with a customer at the moment.
Oh, okay. You mean the total interactions with the
go beyond that, even if we weren't growing in terms of customer volumes, because we can just do things much more efficiently and perfectly. Like there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to do the things that those customers want, not 100% perfectly, or if we detect that we can't, as soon as we can, we would then hand off straight to a real.
This episode wouldn't be possible without our sponsors and supporters. Thank you for being part of our journey. And special thanks to our diamond sponsor, Blackwall, your first line of defense against automated threats. Should we talk about Upmind?
Sure.
Interesting, because it's also the system that is used by WordHost Group.
That's right.
But you also open it up to anyone who wants to.
Yeah,
it's mainly targeting web hosters, right?
Yeah. So Upmind predates WorldHost Group. So I started building Upmind 2018, so. But it was something basically when I'd run hosting businesses before, I'd always wanted we'd always wanted to build our own billing system and be in control of all of this stuff and have, the sorts of things, integrated support and billing and everything in one system.
But why if there are 3 at least already on the market that are doing
sure
this?
And they're all perfect. They've all got problems that we thought we could do better, and so we basically built everything we'd ever wanted in a billing system. It took us a long time. Building a billing system is really, you can't MVP it. Like, it's really complicated. You can't do invoicing without refunds. You can't, and there's always extra things to do. It's never a finished product. There's always extra things people want. Yeah. But I started then building a hosting business that a couple of years after I started the hosting business, just before we launched WorldHost Group, where Upmind was then ready for. So Upmind's just come out of beta, but it's for the last couple of years, it's run WorldHost Group, and we've got about 7,000 clients on there. But it's a really awesome product, and we really abstracted lots of the things that people want to do. So but the way that we run provisioning is totally abstracted. The way that we run payment gateways is totally abstracted. The way that we do billing, there's not one bit of, this is to our benefit and still means there's still more work. There's still always a lot more work we need to do on Upmind. But for example, there's a domain name. It's basically a product that's modeled within the system, and there's super advanced functionality in there. But ultimately, right now, Upmind is for hosting billing. It's for reseller billing, agency billing. We've got some big hosts. We've got lots of smaller hosts running on the platform. Eventually, it's for service-based billing. So it's for anyone with subscriptions that wants to bill and manage their clients and do support. There's a few beauties of it. It's headless, it's API first, but it also sits on top of anything with an API. So you can have an external system, whether that's software or a hosting platform or a domain. You can tie the things that happen with that external system through to billing events or right through to a client. And there's loads of super advanced functionality and now totally custom experiences that you can build on top of Upmind.
How do you manage all of that? WordHost Group and Upmind, and you are also having a pub and a couple of more things. Like, how do you do that?
The pub has very little of my time. But, Conrad, same for you. How do you juggle too many things?
Yeah, people ask me as well. Delegate, right? Delegation is the essence, I think, for me. And focusing on what you're the best and finding people who can do the rest. That's my approach.
Yeah, I the same. They're both Upmind and WHG have amazing teams. So WHG is 900 people and brilliant teams. Upmind
Yeah.
30 people, again, brilliant teams. I could not check my computer for a month, and both businesses would be doing great. But the other thing from my perspective is I don't really have to wear different hats. I don't have to change my mindset when I deal with those two different things, if that makes sense, because they're both in the same space. And there's not Upmind doesn't do one. They're totally separate businesses, right? And Upmind doesn't do one line of code that's specific for World Host Group. It's a third-party relationship. But everything I do for one business helps the other, and vice versa. And I'm not having to change mindset. It's not like I'm running a pub and a hosting business. It's the same. It's the same thing. Challenges I'm fixing and solving are the same without me having to do something totally different. I couldn't. A year ago, I ran Upmind, World Host Group, and Fixed, which is the WordPress maintenance business. And I ended up just putting the WordPress maintenance business straight into World Host Group. Not so much because it was a distraction, but because when there's a company of 900 people, there are processes and things that run stuff better. And there was Fixed, which had maybe 25, 30 people at the time that I put it into World Host Group. It needed a commercial team to look after it. It needed a finance team to do proper finance things. So I put it in.
Okay, last question. It's been a long one, but last question. You said previously that there are some opportunities in the web hosting. What would be your advice to someone who is, looking to create a new web hosting business or something in the industry, maybe a software? What would be your advice to them, and what do you think would be the good idea?
Interesting question. I think this comes back to when we described the essence of web hosting and what are the key things. It's finding something that does that. What is the beauty of web hosting, especially starting out, is that it's subscription based. If you get a customer this year or this month, chances are, if you treat them right, and you've got a much better chance of treating them right as a small business when you're directly related and you've got direct interaction with that customer, chances are they renew the next month or the next year. And so I used to think this when I was much younger, and I had a business, like every customer this year is a customer next year on top of the customers I get next year. So even if my rate of growth doesn't increase, next year is going to be this much greater than this year.
Yeah.
So finding something that's sticky, that's subscription based, and where you can scale it without adding a huge amount more overhead is really important. I think in the web host, there's still lots and lots of opportunity in the web hosting space. Like I said, there are still so many more businesses registered every year, every day. If what's happening in the world right now means that there is a recession or a global recession, we hope not, but the hosting space is a very good place to be, because people will start side hustles, people will start new businesses, people will be made redundant and have to do things themselves. And the last thing that people cancel if their business does suffer is hosting or their domain name. So it's a very good place to be, and your barriers to entry are very low. You don't have big costs. You can do lots of the work yourself. You can take reseller accounts to start off with, and that doesn't lock you into reseller accounts. You can then move to something else in future. You can become an expert on some of the technology quite quickly. There's a lot of training. It's very global. You can do it anywhere you want. The fundamental principles of the open web are brilliant in that things are transferable. Like, you're not locked into particular products. Lots of the software you can use is free. So just start, get a few clients, start getting clients who are paying you on a recurring basis, and it adds up. What's your recommendation for someone starting out? You've got now 4 or 5 businesses. How many do you have?
Yeah, a couple of, I wouldn't call them like separate businesses. Most of them are shared with resources. It's just more projects on top, but also all connected. So like you said, I'm not switching my mindset, and it's also exciting for me to work on new things. So it's also in line with what I like to do, right? Research and development to some extent. I would say my advice, I think going after scale and thinking bigger. Like it's better to have 1% of a billion than 50% of 10 million, right? So going after scale is, and that's exactly why I think the web hosting is tempting, is that there's so much, like if you can have a good service that you can sell to one hosting company, to the end customers, you can get 1,000, a few, even 100,000 customers if you do it right. So that'll be my approach.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I sometimes look, when I started my first business in 2003 or 4, when I started it, I was kind of naive and I didn't understand much about scaling these things when I did it. But I look back at it now and I was like, why did I create a UK hosting company? Why didn't I?
Yeah.
Why did I bother saying it was a UK hosting company? Like it wouldn't have taken any more effort to just remove the UK from it. Like in fact, like the US is a lot bigger. Like Europe's a lot bigger than the UK. It would have been the same effort, and I would have had a much bigger company just because there's a bigger market.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, but it feels that there's still something to it. The industry is changing faster than it was for many years.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of exciting things.
The other thing I would probably say is, this is what we say to some of the. So we sometimes buy businesses from founders who, and they built a business for a long time, and then sometimes they want to stay, and sometimes they want to leave, and the ones who want to leave, they're often thinking about what they do next. And what I sometimes say to them is, look, hosting businesses like ours, we're looking for things that we can use and that we can partner with you to sell to our customers, and you understand the customers very well. So if you can build or find a tool that is the sort of thing that our customers would want. We've got hundreds of thousands of customers, and we're looking for things that we can offer them, and those customers are looking to us to try and buy things and provide them with services. So it's an opportunity. Look at all the hosting businesses. We are marketplaces that are crying out for things that we can offer our customers. So if you can build something or put something together that is viable, then just approach companies like us, because it could be a win-win.
Exactly. I think that's it, Seb. Thank you for joining, and congratulations on hosting.com. And I hope that WordHost Group will keep growing rapidly, but not to give you too much hassle, just to clean growth of getting more and more clients.
There's never any. It's super smooth always.
Yeah, I know.
Never any challenges.
Let's keep it that way then. Thank you again.
All right, Conrad. Speak to you later.